Hey everyone, GoBotch here, back today, this time with a brand new episode in my Madden series. This is the weekly recap show for my Dallas Cowboys franchise mode. We are covering today weeks 15 through 17. We'll look at the season awards and season stat totals heading into this postseason with the top 3 plays of this prior week with the Cowboys. Thank you all so much for being here. Make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe as we jump in to week 15 today against the Carolina Panthers. We are at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. The Carolina Panthers led by Cam Newton. They did defeat us last year in week 1. Now here, week 15, the Cowboys looking for the win at home. They get ready to kick it off, picking up now in the second quarter. It's a 3-3 game. Offense is hard to come by in this game as Dak scrambles to the right, throws an ill-advised pass, and it is picked off by Bradbury, and he takes it 94 yards back to the Carolina end zone, and he scores. It makes it a 10-3 game early in Arlington as the offense is struggling. The defense coming up large there, now picking up after another Cowboy turnover. Newton steps back of the end zone, hits his receiver number 12 over the back of the end zone. It would be reviewed, but it would stand as Moore completes that pass. Now 17-3. Cowboys driving down the field here, ending towards the second half as Williams catches that, crosses across middle, sets up a Dan Bailey field goal, makes it a 17-3. A 17-6 lead now heading into later in the second. So later in the second, Dak scrambling back outright, hits Swaim wide open, makes a juke, a heck of a move. We may see that one pop up later in the top plays, and he gets it all the way down into the red zone, down to the 17-yard line. Very next play, you got to roll left. He throws over and hits Jarwin as he makes a move and dives into the end zone. It makes it a Dallas Cowboy deficit now, 17-13 as we get ready to head into halftime. But Cam Newton at midfield driving before half, and he hits an out route to his receiver Perriman, and he makes that play. A diving defender cannot stop him as he waltzes into the end zone to make it a 24-13 lead for Carolina heading into half. And the Cowboys step out here. First play from scrimmage in the second half, trying to get something going, and Ezekiel Elliott juking out a defender, doing all he can for this Cowboys team as he gets them into red zone at the 22-yard line on their first possession, trailing by 8. Very next play, Dak stepped back in the pocket. He throws an ill-advised pass. It's once again picked off, this time from Parker. So the drive is ended there for the Cowboys, still trailing 24-16. They would stop them on defense, get the ball back, but a sack and a fumble from Dak Prescott, something he struggled with all year, gives Cam Newton great field position to pick it up, and just the Cowboys having all sorts of issues here as we see a pass from Funchess over the middle. He drags a defender in, and they take it into the house. Touchdown Panthers, now 31-16. Back to the Cowboys now on offense. A wide open pass, there's Moncrief, and he's able to go 38 yards into the house. Touchdown Cowboys, as they are not going to go away as they fight right back at it, and it's a 31-23 deficit for the Cowboys after the PAT. Now picking up fourth quarter, and here is the nail in the coffin as Christian McCaffrey, juking and spinning all his way into the end zone, was really held in check for the most part of that game, but that would be the dagger in this game. As we look at the stats, the Cowboys outgained them by over almost 200 yards, 546 total yards of offense, had 377 through the air. We had 169 on the ground, but those 5 turnovers were the huge nail in that coffin for the Cowboys as we could not overcome Carolina, losing 48-30 in week 15. Looking at the stat leaders in the game, Dak Prescott 409 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions to Cam Newton, who had 4 touchdowns and 1 pick, 312 yards. Both guys very effective in the pocket overall, but now you see Dak Prescott 24-41, just couldn't get it done. Really bad with the turnovers he had here today. On the ground, Ezekiel Elliott in his 18 carries had 113 yards, no touchdowns unfortunately, as he was able to get 6.3 yards per carry. Christian McCaffrey with that one dagger, he had 56 yards rushing, 1 touchdown which came there late in that game, which really just sealed the deal. Funchess really did a great job today. He had 8 receptions, 145 yards, 2 touchdown receptions. Swaim for the Cowboys led us with 115 in his 4 receptions, and for the Cowboys, Moncrief was in the end zone as well. So there you see the touchdown totals. Funchess with 2, Moncrief, Perriman, James, Moore, Jarwin, all with 1 receiving touchdown on the day. Now heading to the defensive side, the Cowboys were led by Gardner Johnson, the rookie out of Florida, coming in with 9 tackles, 3 for a loss. And for the sack totals, Poe for Carolina really was able to get to the quarterback. Not a lot of sacks in the game overall, but the one big issue is the turnovers. As you see, those 2 turnovers right there, Parker, Bradbury, and then Wood getting an INT as well in that game. So now, picking up Week 16, division is really on the line here in this game as the Cowboys come in a must-win situation on the road at Washington. If they win this game, they give themselves a chance at a division title heading into Week 17. So we come in here in a huge game against the division rivals and the current leaders of the NFC East. As you see, 11-3 Redskins, the 10-4 wild card team, the Cowboys. A huge game here with playoff implications in Week 16. We are getting ready for it here. Jason Garrett and company ready to roll. And we pick up in the first quarter. And the Dallas defense setting the tone early, really stopping the run game from Thompson and making them have a lot of second and long situations all game long as we pick up now with the Cowboys. First play from scrimmage for Ezekiel Elliott here on this drive, and he's able to juke a defender, bulldoze over one and spun through another, and he takes it 80 yards to the end zone and gives the Cowboys the early 7-0 lead here on the road at enemy territory in Washington in a must-win game for this Cowboys team. Ezekiel Elliott getting it done. You better believe you'll see that play come back in the top 10. Now a 10-3 game, the second quarter. Dak Prescott scrambling out right, hits a wide open James, and he was able to convert that 2nd and 7. Now first down Cowboys at the 38. Very next play, Dak Prescott steps back into the pocket. He hits a pass over the top to Hearns. It gets down in enemy territory, down to the 5-yard line in the red zone. And a few plays later, we will see Ezekiel Elliott receive this handoff, gets good blocking on the edge on the stretch play, and walks into the end zone. Touchdown Cowboys, now 14-0, or 17-3, excuse me, at that point. Now on defense, again, talking about how we were able to get to the quarterback early and often. Here's another great first down play for our defense as Ely comes on with the sack. And now the Dallas defense makes them punt. So Dallas offense back out. Ezekiel Elliott carrying defenders on his back after spinning and juking his way to a first down. Here as we are approaching halftime, Cowboys trying to make it a 24-3 lead heading to half. And they're on their way to do it here as Swaim hits a pass, catches a pass over the middle. Very next play, trying to get into the red zone. Another great play there from Swaim as he gets it into enemy territory down to the 18-yard line, looking for a score before half to make it 24-3. And there's another huge pass, now down to the 5. 2 plays later, 2nd and goal. Cowboys looking to score right here. He gets tripped up and a huge hit. Dak Prescott would fumble the ball, and unfortunately the Cowboys would head into the second half still 17-3. But first possession of the second half, huge pass over the middle right there to Gallup. Dak now at that point 11 of 14 passing, now down to the 1-yard line after some big passes and runs. Ezekiel Elliott waltzes into the end zone of the bounce out rush. Third rushing touchdown, on the game, gives the Cowboys their 24-3 lead, dominating on the road in this huge Week 16 battle. Now another play, 15-yard line, the huge wide open pass, Moncrief connecting, and he dances his way as the Cowboys would walk away from this game victors 31-3. The Redskins know they let that one go by the wayside as they are now tied up across the division in the NFC East. The Cowboys now know, and watching Alex Smith shake his head and realize they let one get away, they must win in Week 17 against the Eagles. The Cowboys, if they take care of business at home turf, they'd be division champs. So there's a 31-3 route for the Cowboys, 490 yards total offense, very balanced at 233 and 257 respectively, rush and pass yards for the Cowboys. Only 1 turnover for each team. Very clean game overall, as we now dive into the player stats to see how the Cowboys and Redskins did overall. So again, Cowboys rolled 31-3. Pretty easy win. And we look at the passing stats here for Dak Prescott. 279 yards total offense for him on the air. 1 touchdown, no picks. And his 22 attempts, he had 17 completions. Alex Smith, 138 yards to the air, no touchdowns and 1 interception, 16-24. Now heading to the rushing game, we see Ezekiel Elliott had a massive game. 27 carries, 219 yards, 8.1 yards per attempt, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Had his long of 80 yards, which you guarantee I will show you in our top 3 plays of the week at the end of this episode. So a big rushing game for him. Glad to see him getting in the end zone frequently. As we now look at the receiving totals, and we see Jesse James, only 4 receptions, had 74 yards, no touchdowns, but led the way in the game for both teams receiving-wise. Swaim had 52 yards on his 4 receptions, Hearns with 45, Williams with 41, Moncrief with 35, and Odell Beckham Jr., the man we tried to get in offseason, had 35 yards as well. Now to the defensive side, Norman and Brown led the way for the game with 11 tackles each, with Nicholson right behind with 9. David Irving led the way for the Cowboys, had a sack and a half, and that helped the Cowboys on the defensive side to keep Alex Smith uncomfortable in the pocket and really helped the Cowboys just stifle that offense. As you see, Sean Lee also had a huge play with his 1 INT on the game. So, picking up now, Week 17, Giants at Dallas. If the Cowboys win this game, they will be NFC East champs. But if they do lose, however, the Washington Redskins would have an opportunity to win the NFC East division title as they face the Philadelphia Eagles. So a must-win game for both teams, a must-win game here for the Cowboys, and you see the pressure there on the quarterback, as you see right here, the 11-4, 11-4. Cowboys and Redskins, the point differentiation is huge in favor of the Cowboys in plus 68, Redskins at negative 46. So here we go. Now, first quarter, you're seeing a 3rd and inches pass over the middle to Rodgers, and he gets it down into the 7 or 8 yard line as Hebert hits that. That is Justin Hebert from Oregon. He's had a magnificent season, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And on 3rd and goal, he throws an ill-advised pass, and that's Smith over the middle. He picks it off and gets tackled back in the end zone, so it's a touchback. But the Cowboys prevent points there on that drive with 5:03 remaining in the first quarter, 0-0 game. Now we're seeing Dak Prescott step back out into the pocket. Next play from scrimmage, and he throws a pick. So they're trading interceptions here as that one is picked off by Collins, and he's able to give the Giants new life back in their territory. So now Hebert, very next play, or 2 plays after that pick, another one to Awuzie here as he intercepts it and drives down back to the 34-yard line, 32-yard line for the Cowboy offense. So 3 picks there in a matter of 2 minutes. And the Cowboys now looking for an opportunity to drive, and this is a huge play, wide open. Blown coverage as Swaim catches over the middle, and he will waltz into the end zone. Dallas Cowboys touchdown, now take the lead 7-3 in the first quarter of play, or in the second quarter of play, excuse me, from Arlington. Big catch. We may see that one as well pop up in the top 3 plays of the week. Now moving forward close in the 2-minute warning era, we got second quarter, 1:18 remaining. First down and goal for the Giants, and a leaping grab over the middle to Rodgers from Hebert, and he's able to complete that pass for a receiving touchdown. Giants now lead 13-7. Dak Prescott now, third quarter here in the second half, and he juggled pass over here from Jesse James, able to keep that play and that drive alive, and it gives the Cowboys some hope. Now 3rd down to 7 from the 10, and a wide open Swaim, middle of the back of the end zone. Touchdown Cowboys as they take a 14-13 lead here in this game in the 3rd quarter of play. Now picking ahead to the 4th quarter, about 9 minutes remaining here, 3rd and 9, and a huge play here from Jesse James, our acquisition we got, and he fumbles it off the huge hit, but the Cowboys able to fall on top of it and keep their drive alive now in the red zone in the 4th quarter of play. After a few stops, they are able to contribute with a field goal. Dan Bailey is good. 17-13 lead for the Cowboys as we pick up now with 4 minutes to go. Dak Prescott, 3rd and 9, needs a huge play, and he gets one from Moncrief as he's able to convert the 3rd down conversion in the air. As Dak Prescott completes that pass, keeps the drive alive, and that would be the difference maker in this game as they complete that pass, able to run the clock out. It's a 20-13 lead now with Hebert in his last chance for the Giants offense, and he gets pressured out of the pocket, breaks one tackle right there, continues to scramble to his right, but he's going to be caught up by a gang of Cowboys there as Taco Charlton comes on and gets a sack, and that is the last-ditch effort for these Giants as they drop a Week 17 heartbreaker in a battle in Dallas. So we see the Cowboys win 23-13 final in Week 17, guaranteeing themselves the division championship in the NFC East over the Redskins with 252 total yards of offense, 120 through the ground, 132 through the air, 1 turnover total for the Cowboys, to the 3 picks from Hebert from the Giants. So now looking at the stats, Dak Prescott, 165 yards total offense on the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 12 completions to his 15 attempts. And Hebert, again, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, he had 264 yards total offense through the air, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 22 of 35 in the air. So now, looking down into the rushing stats, we had Ezekiel Elliott had a pretty good game overall, but he had to grind it out. 32 carries, 113 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. No touchdowns this game with his 7 broken tackles, along 16 yards, and that matched Saquon Barkley with his 12 attempts, 55 yards. He also had a long of 16 yards. So not a huge game touchdown-wise in that area. Now moving to the receiving corps, led by Chester Rogers, 91 yards that hit through the air. Shepard right behind him with 4 catches and 73 yards. Swain for the Cowboys had 2 completions, had 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. So both times he touched the ball, he met the end zone for the Cowboys, and that was really the big difference maker in this game as our tight end. He's done a great job as our number 2 tight end behind Jesse James, and he's made a huge difference here in this game as the Cowboys now look at their defensive side, led by Gardner Johnson with 11 tackles, none for a loss, as Carter led the whole game with 13 tackles, 1 for a loss. Now looking at the picks and the sacks, Olivier Vernon had 4.5 sacks on the Cowboys. Taco Charlton, he had 3 sacks on the game, so a lot of quarterback pressure coming through in this game overall. But really, the Cowboys were able to hang on, had great field goal kicking. We had 3 turnovers caused. You see Collins with a pick, Brown, Awuzie, and Smith each with a pick as well. And the turnovers is what made that difference in this game early for the Cowboys as they defeated the Giants 23-13. So now we're going to step into the yearly awards here on the show as the NFL MVP goes to no other than Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. 10-6 Falcons made the playoffs as a wild card team, and Matt Ryan led the way for them as he was followed up by Watson, Mariota, Smith, Bell, the rookie Hebert, and Aaron Rodgers. So Ryan takes the award for NFL MVP as he leads the way to their team to make it to the postseason and have an opportunity to win their wildcard game and maybe face those Dallas Cowboys. Now looking at the AFC Offensive Player of the Year, Deshaun Watson wins that one for the Houston Texans, followed by Bell, Mariota, Jackson, Rivers, Keenum, and Baker Mayfield as the Browns finish 8-8. Watson and the Texans, they finished 13-3. Definitely one of those teams that I didn't expect to be that good overall, but they're one of the best teams in the AFC, and we will be seeing them maybe in the future in the postseason, maybe in the Super Bowl. Now the NFC Offensive Player of the Year, no other, of course, than the MVP of the league, Matt Ryan, followed by Hebert for the Giants, Smith, Trubisky, Rodgers, Goff, and Todd Gurley. So that's our Offensive Player of the Year list right there. Again, I'm really impressed with Hebert as he's been able to do what he's been doing. Again, the quarterback from Oregon. Now heading into Coach of the Year for the NFL. We see Bill O'Brien for the Houston Texans led them to a 13-3 year. McVay was right behind them in those votes with a 13-3 year for the Rams. But again, just seeing what he was able to do with that Houston team, get them to 13-3, the top seed in the AFC, definitely deserved that award for Coach of the Year. Now heading to Defensive Player of the Year for the AFC. Rashaan Evans leads the way for the Titans in a 12-4 season, followed by Von Miller, Osbury, Cunningham, Teo, Garrett, and Bradshaw, rounding out the top 7 players in contention for the Defensive Player of the Year. Again, Evans takes it for the Titans in their 12-4 season. Again, seeing a lot of interesting things happening there in the AFC with the Houston Texans and those Tennessee Titans. Now, Defensive Player of the Year for the NFC, Ryan Shazier takes the award, followed by Brown, Hicks, Foster. Dallas Cowboy players Lewis and Lee both had excellent years in that contention, and backed up right there by the Packers' Ryan. So that's the Defensive Player of the Year award. Now we're going to go Rookie of the Year for the AFC. Reed Frick led the way. He gets a Rookie of the Year honors for the New England Patriots, followed by Love, Campbell, Brown, Pettis, Reynolds, and Brown for the Colts, as that is the Offensive Rookie of the Year award for the AFC. Now looking at the NFC Rookie of the Year, again, no surprise here at all. The Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Justin Hebert out of Oregon for the New York Giants, followed by Samuel, Harris, Person, Scott Bailey, and Trueblood for the Falcons. So now we're going to jump into Defensive Rookie of the Year. We're going to be looking at the AFC first, and we're going to look at Paul Osbury. He takes it for the Baltimore Ravens, followed by Bradshaw, Richardson, Oliver, McGarity, and Grimes, and Bosa for the Texans. A lot of good defensive rookies there, as you see their contribution, what they were able to do this year. Bosa, I'm sure, had a heck of a year for the Texans, as all these teams are battling for opportunity to get in the divisional series. Now looking to the NFC, we have Defensive Rookie of the Year, Aaron Love for the Saints. Tell the third, followed up with Farrell, Simon, the Dallas Cowboys rookie first-round draft pick, Gardner Johnson, Mullen, and White for the Defensive Player of the Year. Now AFC Best Quarterback, Deshaun Watson wins that award, followed by Mariota, Lamar Jackson, Rivers, Bortles, Baker Mayfield, and Case Keenum for the Broncos. For the NFC, no Cowboys in this, unfortunately, as Matt Ryan takes that award, followed by Smith, Rodgers, Hebert, Goff, Trubisky, and the legend Drew Brees, continuing to break records and records year in, year out. Now moving to top running back of the AFC, you have Le'Veon Bell leading the way, getting the award. Kareem Hunt, you had Henry, Gordon III, Fournette, Murray, and White doing what they've been doing all career long. Now for the NFC, Todd Gurley taking the award for top running back in the NFC, followed by Freeman. The Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott, he would have had that award if he had stayed healthy. He missed 4 games on the season, so unfortunately Cowboys weren't able to get that one. Now AFC Best Wide Receiver, Emmanuel Sanders takes the hardware, followed by Westbrook, Grant, Allen, Landry, Taylor, and Hopkins for the Texans. For the NFC, Best Receiver goes to Julio Jones, followed by Adams, Rodgers, Shepard, Robinson, Beckham Jr., and Kupp for the Rams. We're going to move into the AFC Best Offensive Lineman. We have DeCastro taking the hardware for the Steelers, followed by Yanda, Luan, Norwell, Zietler, Fulton, and Linder for the Jaguars. From the NFC, 2 Cowboys in the top 2, and in the top 4, we have Martin taking the hardware, Frederick. You have Bakateri, Smith, Sheriff, Williams, and Johnson from the Eagles. For defensive lineman, AFC goes to Myles Garrett. Khalil Mack follows him, Murphy, Chubb, Ogba, Watt, and Oliver out of the Jets. For the NFC Best Defensive Lineman, the awards will go to David Irving for the Dallas Cowboys. Heck of a season from him, followed by Donald, Daniels, Graham, can't pronounce the guy for the Cardinals, Barnett, and Buckner for the 49ers. So multiple Cowboys able to get some awards here so far today. As we move into Best Linebacker out of the AFC, we have Von Miller doing his thing, followed by Clowney, Evans, Teo, Osbury, Whitehead, and Williamson for the Jets. Out of the NFC, we're looking at the Best Linebacker Award. Will we see Sean Lee? And we will, but he's not going to be a winner. We have Jordan Hicks getting top linebacker, followed by Shazier. You have Foster, Vernon, Matthews. Sean Lee is 6th, and Brown for the Redskins at 7th. Now we're going to move forward into the secondary, looking at Best Defensive Back. We have Duke Dawson Jr. for the Broncos winning the award, followed by Ramsey, Harris Jr., Jackson, Fitzpatrick, Howard, and Cyprin. For the NFC, we better see Lewis on this awards list. He's had an amazing year with his interceptions and touchdown counts, and we'll look at it now. We have Jordan Lewis getting the Defensive Back of the Year, followed by Rhodes, Alexander, Chancellor, Parker, Sherman, and Jenkins. No surprise there to see Jordan Lewis receive the hardware for Best Defensive Back in the NFC. Had a terrific year for the Cowboys with his 9 interceptions, and I believe 4 of those were taken back for touchdowns. Now, Best Kicker, Steven Gostkowski doing his thing for the Texans, followed by Sturgis, Zorlin, Tucker, Bucker, Bullock, and Hokka, or whatever his name is. You got from the NFC, Prater winning the award, gold, followed up by Gano, Carlston, Gonzalez, Lutz, and Tavachio for the Redskins. So there's the awards for the season, year 2 in our franchise mode. And now we're going to look at the top teams. The Rams led the way by the Texans. So those are the top 2 teams for the Rams in the NFC, Texans in the AFC, followed by the Cowboys, Redskins, Titans, Falcons, and Ravens. Now we're going to look down and see the worst teams that we saw all year long. We had the Lions at 3-13 will get the #1 pick of the draft, followed by the Bengals, Raiders, Colts, Buccaneers, Bills, and the Browns. So that is the landscape as we now look into the postseason wildcard matchups. We have the Chargers at the Chiefs, the 49ers at the Falcons. The Cowboys will see the winner of that 49ers-Falcons game and the divisional round. Then you have the Titans at Jets and the Redskins at the Packers. So that is our wild card matchups as we look to that game right there. 49ers Falcons. We'll get the winner of that one. I anticipate we'll probably be seeing Matt Ryan, the MVP of the NFL, as we now look at the stats for the Cowboys this season. Dak Prescott, a much better year, had 3,634 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 23 picks is still way too high. Hopefully we can get that number down next year, as he had a lot of turnovers overall. Ezekiel Elliott missed. He only played 12 games this season, had 1,622 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns, only had 2 fumbles. As you see, Dak Prescott had a lot of fumbles, 20 fumbles total on the year. A lot of those are coming out of our play actions, or he get sacked, fumbled, something we really got to get fixed. But he had 6 rushing touchdowns, and 691 yards on the ground for Dak. Now to receiving. Dante Moncrief led the way. He's our newly acquired receiver we got this year out of free agency. 807 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns for Moncrief. James had 5 with his 538 yards receiving. 2 newly acquired players led the way for the Cowboys this season. Williams with 2 touchdowns receiving, Swain with 3 receiving, Hearns with 5 receiving, Gallup with 3 receiving, all over 300 plus yards receiving for the Cowboys this season, and over 20 receptions for each of these men overall for the season. So a much better passing season we saw this year. I was very happy with it. The turnover margin was still a little bit high for my taste, but hopefully we can fix that up here in this offseason and into next year with Dak Prescott, the Cowboys, as we look forward to continuing our postseason journey and not going to get beat in the first round like we did last year. So I was very happy with Hearns, Gallup, Swaim. Our tight end core is super solid with Jarwin, Swaim, and Jesse James. I was super pleased with the way they played all season long for us. Tavon Austin's back healthy now. So is Lawrence for the Cowboys. So they're back healthy for our second round matchup. As we look at sack issues here, we have Collins allowed 15 sacks. He had Smith with 13. Fleming allowed 12. Connor allowed 9. It's just a lot of sacks allowed overall throughout the entirety of the season. Wasn't a great year in the protection in that area. So Sean Lee led the way on defense for the Cowboys. 109 tackles, 22 for a loss, and 4.5 sacks. Woods had 91. Gardner Johnson had a heck of a year with 91 tackles. Looking at the sack leaders, David Irving had 14.5 sacks. Lawrence with 10, 8.5 from Taco Charlton. You had Ely right there doing his thing. Interception leaders, Jordan Lewis, no wonder he was the Defensive Player of the Year. 9 picks, 301 yards, interception yards right there, y'all. We had 3 from Lee, 3 from Woods, 3 from Ozier, 3 from Brown, 2 from Brown, from Smith. And if you look at the touchdown totals, we had 6 total defensive touchdowns, 4 coming from Jordan Lewis, 1 from the other 2 names down there. But not a great year in this area right here. This is where we really struggled, and that was the kicking game with Dan Bailey. 15 of 22, 68%, the long being 53, and 1 of those was blocked. But you got to get that hammered out and be better in that respect. Now, we're going to jump up here and look at some of the league leaders across the NFL as we look at the top goer for yards passing, and that is Justin Hebert out of Oregon. Had 4,865 yards passing, 38 touchdowns, and 13 picks. Was the leading passer in the NFL through yards. So we're going to look to see the top touchdown thrower, and that would be the MVP, Matt Ryan. 52 touchdowns passing, 12 interceptions, and over 4,808 yards through the air. A very good quarterback in a pass-heavy offense. Did a great job. Now looking to rushing, the leading rusher was Le'Veon Bell. Over 1,700 yards rushing and 17 touchdowns on the ground. Todd Gurley follows him up with 1,600 yards. Zeke Elliott right behind him in third with 1,622. Only 10 touchdowns on the ground. I'd like to see that number improve if he could stay healthy. But that's the main reason that Zeke wasn't up higher, is because look at the games played at the far right. He had 12 compared to their 16, and that was the main reason that Zeke wasn't the leading rusher and probably in the MVP race this year. Now, for receiving, the top receiver was Julio Jones with 1,306 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns through the air, and receiving, and Sanders right behind him at 1,264 yards. Shepard right behind him at 1,208 yards. Allen at 1,207. A lot of good receivers this year that we saw break out with over 1,000 yards receiving. For the leading receiving go-getter in touchdowns, you had Julio Jones, Sanders, and Rodgers, each with 13 touchdowns receiving. Adams right behind him, as is Westbrook and Robinson. So now we're going to look into the defensive side of the game. The top tackler in the NFL was no other than Reuben Foster, the linebacker out of San Francisco. Had 139 tackles, 16 for a loss, 3 interceptions, and 3.5 sacks. The leading sack getter in the league was Myles Garrett with his 19 sacks, followed by Clowney, Mack, Miller, Ogba, Chubb, and Murphy for the NFL sack leaders this year. Now we're going to move ahead to interceptions, and of course, Jordan Lewis leads the way with his 9 interceptions, followed up by Dawson Jr., Hicks, Ramsey, Harris Jr., Rhodes, and Alexander. If you look at the yards for interceptions, nobody's close. Lewis leads the way there, and I believe he leads the way in touchdowns this year with 4 touchdowns on defense. Nobody else has more than 1 in the league in its entirety. And a terrific, groundbreaking year really for Lewis Jr. as we advance forward and see that for the divisional round, y'all, the Dallas Cowboys, we will be taking on no other than the 10-6 Atlanta Falcons. So looking at the wild card games, we had the 31-0 win for the Chargers on the road at the Chiefs, the 20-31 win for Atlanta Falcons over the San Francisco Giants. Again, we will be playing the Falcons here in the divisional round. The Titans were able to not do much. The Jets win 21-3. The Jets, y'all, are in to the second round of the postseason, and the Redskins, they get trumped. The Packers win a huge one, 38-3 in the wild card. So now here's the divisional round matchups. You have the Chargers at the Texans, the Packers at the Rams. You have the Jets at the Ravens, and on Saturday Night Football, you have the Falcons coming to AT&T Stadium against your Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be fun to watch those as we're getting ready for some postseason football here in Dallas. Very excited to get that going. Hopefully we are Super Bowl bound as we now move forward into our top 3 plays from the Dallas Cowboys weeks 15 through 17. Number 3 is no other than against the Giants here in a big 2nd and 12 across the middle. This was what opened up the offense for the Cowboys with a huge 50-yard touchdown pass and catch to Jeff Swaim across the middle. Now to number 2. Number 2 is in the Carolina game. Unfortunately, we lost. This is a huge run from Ezekiel Elliott back at their own 24. He's able to juke out a defender into the open field and get down all the way to the 22-yard line. A huge rush there from Zeke. Moving to number 1, the man, the myth, the legend, Ezekiel Elliott, able to get a huge block, a spin there, a trucked over defender, and a juke there, and he takes it 80 yards to the house to open it up for the Cowboys in a must-win game on the road, and they did just that. That's the number 1 play this week. So again, we'll end it here today for this weekly recap. This will be happening every single weekend for my Madden franchise with the Dallas Cowboys. I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to this week. Division football, playoff football, Cowboys, Falcons, and I'll see y'all in it. Y'all take it easy.